After years of slavery and far from his home and his family, we can imagine Patrick standing on the bow of the ship, weeping with relief. Behind him is the land of his bondage. In front of him is the open sea, and a sense of freedom that he never thought he would experience again. But it wasn't taking him back to the life he once led. This ship didn't take him home. It brought him into the unknown. Most scholars believe that the ship took him to what we now know as France, where he would have studied scripture and joined a Christian community. He could have gone on to do many other things, but something inside him had changed. His faith, born in suffering, was beginning to take root. In his new community, he learned what it was like to truly follow Jesus, and not just in belief, but in practice. He saw what it was like to live a life of prayer, service, and love. Faith is like a flame. It needs tending. It needs shelter, a community to protect it. And it needs fuel, like scripture, wisdom, and experience. And it needs air, space to ask, to doubt, and to grow. All of this fanned Patrick's faith into a fire that consumed his life. And in the process, he found a deeper calling. After what I'm sure felt like multiple lifetimes for his parents, Patrick chose to voyage back to the family home. What a relief this must have been. But I wonder, did they recognize him? Taken mercilessly as a boy, he now returned as a man on a mission, a man determined to serve God and follow his lead. Desperate to keep what was once lost, Patrick recounts that back at home, his parents begged me to give them my word, that after suffering so great an ordeal, I should never leave them again. But Patrick couldn't make that promise, because God was calling him back. We all know what it's like to feel the pull of other people's plans. Parents, teachers, leaders, everybody has an idea of what we should do. Patrick's leaders would have hoped that he had remained in France, maybe rise in church leadership. A safe and sensible plan for Patrick would have been to head east. Journeying towards Rome would have meant a return to the protection of the Roman Empire, the privilege of the church, and a path upwards into religious hierarchy. But Patrick had this dream, and in it he heard something that he just couldn't shake. He said it was the voice of the Irish, those who had enslaved him, and they were crying out. And they said, "We beg you, come once again and walk among us." Patrick said that this pierced him to his heart, but he didn't make a quick decision. He really wrestled with it. Like, could he really do this to his parents again? The hurt that they'd been through? Or could he return to the Irish people who had robbed everything from him? So he prayed, and one night he heard the voice again. And it said this: "Jesus, who gave up his very soul for you, he it is who is speaking within your soul." And so for Patrick, this was no longer about safety. It was about obedience. It was no longer about comfort. It was about courage. Throughout Scripture, we see men and women stepping into hard places, not because it was easy, but because God called them. And by doing so, their courage and faith changed the world. Abraham left everything he knew to follow God into the unknown. Mary Magdalene became the first witness to the resurrection in a world where a woman's testimony wasn't even considered valid. Paul traveled dangerous roads and faced hostile crowds to share the message of Jesus. God's call often leads us into hard places, but that's where his story unfolds. Even Jesus was called to lay his life down so that others might live. And for Patrick, he was called to return to the place of his trauma. Calling never comes with clarity at first. It starts with a whisper, a burden, a tug of the soul. But the invitation is always the same. Trust me. To find our purpose in this world, we're invited to listen to the heart of God, who from the very beginning of time has always been reaching out to heal what is hurting, to restore what is broken, and to find what is lost. At 40, Patrick returned to Ireland, not as a captive, but by choice, on a mission to ignite the flame of faith that would light a nation. If you were willing, where could God lead you?